Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?
What's up, nerds, and welcome to this week's edition of the Multiverse Report. You may notice that I'm not Mike Gibson, because he's normally the one that says that. I'm Steve Haller. Join me this week instead of the illustrious Mike Gibson, because he's off doing fun things with his family and friends, us not included, is the one, the only, the renowned local boy artist, Matt Flint. Hi, Matt. How are you doing? And welcome to the podcast.
I am doing fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm doing about as good as I do every normally Sunday. Today, Monday night. We had to push, but Mike and I, it was 4th of July weekend. Mike and I had a bunch of stuff going on, so we pushed from Sunday. Next thing you know, it's Monday. Here we are, and it was a good weekend. Yourself?
I was stuck at work most of the weekend,
That'll
so it was okay. I don't really remember much of it, honestly.
There you go. The opposite of the weekend before.
Yeah. Weekend before, Nickel City. It's a good time.
Yep. So anyone who isn't following Matt on socials, you should, because his art is amazing. But last week he was out representing at Nickel City Con out in Buffalo, which for anyone in the Northeast, pretty solid con, if I remember talking to you correctly, right?
Yeah. The this year's lineup for guests was crazy. They had, I want to say, close to like 30 guests, 30
Nice.
like higher profile guests. So, including 8 voice actors from X-Men '97.
Oh God, why wasn't I there?
Yeah, I don't know why you're there.
Well, in hindsight, I should have been. Speaking of cons, it does behoove us to note that if you may know Matt's art if you were at or around or anywhere near Syracuse Collectors Con, where we were last March. Was it March? April?
Yep.
One of those months.
March.
A month earlier in the year, but going to be March 25th of 2025 coming up. Matt himself is putting up his exclusive cover of TMNT 148, which was awesome and designed explicitly for the con. There is the trade dress and the Virgin variant that you can pick up from Matt himself. And then he also did a poster for the con, which was it Mikey holding April, or was it Raph?
It was Raph. Wow, it took me a minute to think about that. Yeah, it was Raph holding April.
In the iconic Infinite Crisis on Infinite Earths pose there. Just a beautiful print all around.
Yeah, that was definitely something to draw. It was something. Like, so many characters.
Yeah.
At one point I was like just really like 2 inches away from my paper, just drawing like little details. So
yep. Yeah, if you look through the background of that, there are a ton of Easter eggs and whatnot throughout that poster. Really awesome. And I think I don't know if you have any personal copies left. I think they still have some down at the shop too, right?
I have a few left. One thing to note, which was fun, because anyone that knows the story, Nickelodeon and IDW ended up rejecting that as the cover,
Yep.
right? Because they don't like homages, I guess, but there was some problematic characters in there. The one thing that they did not catch, though,
Yep.
on that whole poster was that I put in a small little face of one of my characters.
That's awesome. That would have been great if that had gotten through.
I know. I was gonna laugh all the way home for that one. So
yeah, you think they're gonna come back and say that's that's the issue, and then lo and behold, there were some other issues. But
I mean, I did not even know that they didn't own the rights to PandaCon anymore, and I threw PandaCon in there.
Well, there you go.
So
you learned something today. I learned something today. For anyone, I mentioned the shop earlier. For anyone who doesn't know what I'm referring to, that would be Funky Town Comics and Vinyl, one of our local shops down here. my personal favorite shop because they sponsor the podcast and are local and a bunch of really, really good guys. Um, if you're in the area, feel free to hit them up. Other plugs before we get into some rundown action. I do know coming up in a couple weeks we have Trek Wars, which is a Star Wars and Star Trek themed burlesque show. I know Mike is selling at that show. They're having a little mini con before that's down at the Palace Theater in Syracuse. I may be joining him to broadcast from that. I am not 100% sure whether or not that's going to work out, but that is 100% locally funded and sourced burlesque show. Mike did it last year. Had a really good time at it. Really, really good crowd, really good people. Just general fun overall. So if you are looking to hit that up in a couple of weeks, you can catch us all there, as well as the end of August is AnchorCon up in Clayton, another North Country Comic Con, not to be confused with North Country Comic Con, but they're putting on a show August 17th and 18th up in Clayton at the Event Center. Mike and I will be there on some panels as well as broadcasting from the show and having a table. Mike will also be selling his stuff up there. So I don't know. I don't know if there's anything off the cut that you want to plug, Matt.
I do know coming up this next weekend is going to be Empire Collectors Fest in Rochester.
Yes.
Um,
Very comics
I
focused
maybe
event.
Yes, very comic centric. It's pretty much like an old school Comic Con.
Yep.
There's going to be a couple artists there. Al Milgram is going to be there. Keith Williams is going to be there.
Nice.
Um, I may be there Saturday to help Jesse because Funky Town Comics Vinyl will be having a presence there as well.
That's yeah. I would say if you're in the area, hit it up. If not, for any other reason than to go support those guys. But from what Jesse's been talking up, I've never been myself, but he was saying it's his favorite con in the area from a purely comic standpoint. It's just boxes and boxes and long boxes and more long boxes.
I've been a fan one year. I've been set up there one year, and I had a good time both years. So
Nice. Yeah, you can't beat that.
I mean, last year it led right into me going to a lake house. So I did the con, packed up my car, and went right on vacation. So either way, it was all good. So
Oh yeah, that's the way to do it right there. That is the way to do it. I guess there's no good segue from lake houses, but let's bust into the rundown right off the bat. We'll start with some DC news. We've been talking a lot about the new Superman movie coming out, the kickoff of the DC universe. I keep wanting to call it the DCEU. It is not anymore. It's going to be, I believe, next July is the date currently pegged for it.
I think you're right.
Somewhere in there. The filming is ongoing though, and we're starting to see more and more set leaks. We saw Superman 2 weeks ago, along with Mr. Terrific. We've now officially seen Nathan Fillion's Guy Gardner and Isabella Merced's Hawkgirl. First images kind of leaked this week. Only a couple of stills, but one of them including someone in a full blue suit holding up Isabella Merced's Hawkgirl. Mildly hilarious to see the behind the scenes on that sort of thing. But any thoughts on the two costumes, Matt? I'm not personally I have no idea what to expect out of either of those costumes. So
earlier today, I saw a video that said who they think that character is, that guy in the blue suit.
Yeah,
and got like a white face and a purple and orange. And I'm not a DC guy, so
Same.
I don't know
Yep.
the characters. But the Hawkgirl suit, I didn't mind. I mean, I'm not so attached to Hawkgirl, but I thought it looked okay. I didn't think it looked special. The Guy Gardner suit, that guess I'm gonna have to trust in Gunn on this one because I'm not so impressed, but that's also behind the scenes filming. And
Yeah.
I mean, I know James Gunn takes very good care in his stories, and all the little details, including on how the movie looks. So I don't know. Like off the bat, it seems like there's a lot of characters in this movie, and I hope it balances it right. But I thought Superman looked pretty good.
I did hear budget Dr. Manhattan for the guy in the blue suit.
Yeah.
Um, but Guy Gardner for me, like Hawkgirl seemed fine. I mean, they're gonna touch up and make things shiny and whatnot in post and do their thing to make it what it is. Uh, Guy Gardner, I don't know. He like uh, it. It's Nathan Fillion in a wig and like I don't know. It looks like him
with
wearing Star Lord's jacket and some white pants.
and with a slight Coors Light belly.
Right, and the a lantern belt buckle. Now,
Yeah.
what they're
Yeah.
gonna do with that, or if there's some direction that's gonna go, I have no idea. But it really confused the hell out of me. And this is one where I would love to see what Mike's take on this is, as the DC guy and knowing what to expect out of some of this stuff.
Right.
It's like, yeah, I just don't know, at all.
It I don't know. It just it didn't seem like Guy Gardner. Not that I am again familiar 100% with the character, but I grew up knowing who Guy Gardner is,
Right.
and it it didn't look like Guy Gardner. Maybe the haircut looked like Guy Gardner, but the I don't know, all the white that was going on in the costume,
Yep.
because that's what it was, like white with some black accents and a little bit of green, and I'm like, that's what what's happening.
Yeah. It didn't particularly make a ton of sense to me, but I don't know. Um, Whatever. It's it's a suit. And it may not be the full blown. Jesus, Brian, you're killing me. I just looked over at the chat. Brian Rollins referred to it as Timu Green Lantern. So yeah, we got
That's awesome.
the Ollie's bargain bin Green Lantern going here.
I mean, I guess the only thing I could think of is when the first time I saw Magneto with a white costume, but Magneto looked cool with it, and this did not.
Right. Yeah. I don't know.
Again, like you said, Hawkgirl. I mean, Hawkgirl's usually, upper body armor, midriff showing, what in wings. And I mean, you can pretty much do anything to Hawkgirl,
Right.
and it's fine. But it,
Yeah, and there's been enough iterations or whatever, but like I don't know. The lantern, the generic I mean, there's been multiple lantern suits and whatnot, but I've never seen something like that.
no,
It's always that
no.
kind of
So
white gloves, black suit or black and green suit and the big insignia.
right,
So
right. It,
it's a take. I'm
it
sure
is.
it'll end up looking better in post than whatever the hell we're thinking it is. But it's something new, and of course they're gonna put out the stills, and everybody's gonna talk about it.
I mean, it usually does. It usually does. Everything looks good in post production.
Right.
Usually.
Until it doesn't.
I mean, until it doesn't. We could definitely bring up some examples, but um, I again, I trust James Gunn. I don't think I've ever seen a movie that I was absolutely disappointed that he produced or made in, except for maybe Guardians 2 wasn't my favorite, but it's still not a bad movie.
Yeah, yeah. Even that is like, for its faults, it still has a direction. It still is in general a solid film. Definitely
Mm.
the weakest of the three, in my opinion. Some people love it, but
Yeah,
it's yeah. I don't know.
I I agree. Definitely the weakest of the three, but who knows? That could have also been a Disney thing too.
Right. Um, what did you say? Was it Metamorpho that they were thinking that other guy was?
I think so. I think so. That
'Cause
sounds right.
was he confirmed for uh I want to say he was either confirmed or heavily rumored for that,
Because yes,
or
because they said
for the
something
film.
about um the only character missing on that team that they were showing in those stills was Metamorpho.
Oh,
So
so that probably makes sense.
yeah,
That
yep,
works.
that's definitely the guy right there.
Yeah. In other news for the Superman film, speaking of homages that we were talking about earlier, Will Reeve, the son of Superman actor, the Superman actor Christopher Reeve, will apparently have a role in the film. Who knows what that role is, or if it's a cameo or whatever? But he officially has been announced as having a role in the film. So that's always a nice nod.
I thought they said he was going to be a reporter, but maybe that's just because he is a real life reporter.
Could be very easy for him to play one on TV.
Right, right.
Yeah, and that's I mean, I was glad Billy Lord got, a front and center role in Rise of Skywalker for whatever problems that had after Carrie passed. And it's
Right.
nice to have nice to have some continuity and pay some respects to, bygone stars who had a major impact on any of these properties. Where are we heading next? I think we're done with DC. No, we're not. Um, the only other thing that I announced, or that I saw got announced, was Arkham Asylum, the Batman series that we had heard about over the last couple of years, is apparently no longer happening at Max. I think this is part of the shakeup that Mike and I were discussing last week about the Max branding and HBO kind of wanting to reshuffle some things. This was originally, if I'm remembering right, supposed to be like a police procedural based on Arkham and like I don't know if it was like Oz or whatever, but it was all centered around Arkham itself. Whereas not so much on the heroes or anything. It was very much centered around the prison. And it seems like it was kind of put on hold last year, and it seems like it's officially off the table in the iteration that it was. Variety stating that according to an individual with knowledge of the situation, showrunner Antonio Campos's version will not proceed. It's still possible, though, that a new project set within the infamous Gotham City Asylum could be developed in the future, the individual noted. So I don't know. Did something like that appeal to you, Matt? Like that concept for a series?
I would actually be interested in watching it.
Yeah.
Um, because well, I guess my question is, would it be set in? Did you say it was set in the Matt Reeves
Yeah,
Batman
yeah. It
verse
was
or?
originally supposed to be a
Oh,
Matt Reeves verse set. So that
okay.
dark and gritty, similar to what we're getting with the Penguin, but focused on Arkham.
I I am 100% on board with that then. Anything that happened in that universe, I'm all in. So it it's along with like shows that no one asked for, but a show like that kind of gives you a inside look at what the world could be and how you could really build the Batman character around that world. And I mean, no one asked for the Penguin either, but they're
Yeah.
making it.
Well, and
So
that's the thing. Similar to Solo for Star Wars, which Mike and I both adore. Like
I
nobody
agree.
needed it, nobody wanted it, and then when it came out, it's like, no, that's a fun movie. It's not Empire Strikes Back, but it's a fun movie.
Oh, I think Solo's way better than anyone gives that movie credit for.
Yeah.
But
Um.
I,
Yeah. I mean, it was a function of when it came out and how it was marketed. It was just they did it completely wrong.
I guess the danger of having a show like Arkham would be you would be introducing all of these villains or potentially introducing or hinting at all these villains, and then if you wanted to do a Matt Reeves Bat film later on down the road and use one of those characters
Right.
and you wanted to change that character, you've kind of already implanted that character in I don't know. I guess I could see where it could be dangerous to go either way with it,
Yeah,
and probably just expensive. But
100%.
uh,
Now that said,
I
the Penguin trailer looked to me again, the like you said, it's a show that I don't think anybody was clamoring for, but when that trailer came out, I was like, holy shit, this actually looks really good.
yeah, yeah, no, I he was like my favorite part of the Batman.
Yeah,
I think like that whole scene, the chase scene and everything like that. I'm like, man, this is the Batman I've been looking for,
right.
you know? And I don't know, I think he played it well. I can't imagine the craziness of going through the prosthetics to get into that
Oh god.
penguin suit,
No.
but
No, I
especially to
can't.
do like a mini series, but you know, he's the actor to do it. So
Right. Yeah, it's like him or Christian Bale. Although Christian Bale would like find a way to actually break his face to turn it into that.
yeah.
God.
Um but it I don't know. Like I'm waiting for the Penguin show, but I really want another Batman movie set in that universe.
Yeah, and it's apparently in development. So that's a good sign
Yeah.
at least that they're realizing what they had with that. You know, I guess it wouldn't be bad if they'd have like left it going out on top. Like I wouldn't have been mad at them for that too. But I think
Mhm.
I think I'm excited that they're realizing that there's something about that dark and gritty Gotham which, you know, a couple of I mean numerous like Batman runs have focused on the seedy underbelly and like not everything being, you know, him teaming up with Superman, him being, you know, boots on the ground. And
Right.
that's the Batman that a lot of people like. You know, that down to earth.
That's always been the Batman I've liked too. I've never liked Batman in his universe has always been the part of DC I've liked.
Yeah.
I'm more like you. I'm a Marvel guy, but DC to me was Batman and his side world or whatever you want to call them,
Oh yeah.
the multiverse of bats. Um, Whenever he got paired up to like the Justice League or something like that, I've never been. You got the Dark Knight who fights slightly powered super mobsters
Right.
sitting next to Superman and Wonder Woman, and they're all brightly colored, and it's just like, all right,
Right.
maybe
Well, I
not.
mean, that's speaking Marvel, that'd be like having, you know, Daredevil fight Thanos.
Yeah,
It's not going to work, but they'll find some way to shoehorn it in and make it work.
yeah,
Um,
right.
yeah, like Spidey being there for all of that. It's like the guy shoots webs and is slightly strong. I don't think he's going up against the Mad Titan. Um, but yeah,
No,
but yeah, I
it,
mean,
it yeah,
it's a weird one, but hey, it's worked for years and people seem to love it for years. Um, that I guess that's the other
or
thing. Mike and I have touched on it a lot. How there's so many different iterations of a lot of these classic characters. You know, Batman, you've got everything from Adam West Batman to dark and gritty Matt Reeves Batman to Batfleck, who is whatever he is. Um, and then, you know, the Bale Batman. Like, we're not going to mention the nipples on Clooney's suit, but there's been so many different iterations and so many different takes on the character. There's always something for everyone, and maybe uh, this is this show that got canceled would have been something for someone, but it seems like it wasn't it for enough people for them to continue to greenlight it.
right. Yeah, again, like I now that we've been talking about it more, I do remember hearing when it was announced. I couldn't find anything about it being canceled, but I do remember when it was being announced, and I like a lot of shows and everything. I'm like, man, I don't know. Maybe that's too much too soon. Too much of a good thing.
Yeah.
I, and
Yeah, you don't have to build everything out immediately within like a year of a movie dropping.
right, but you don't want to wait too long either.
No,
Because
but for that they announced, they announced Penguin, they announced this series, they announced the sequel being in development. It's like, all right, just because that movie was a hit doesn't mean everything has to be centered around that movie, which, I mean, that's something none of these studios have understood for a long time. When Star Wars came back and people liked The Force Awakens, they started making everything under the sun Star Wars. When the MCU showed that they could catch lightning in a bottle with the Infinity Saga, they put everything in their brother out Marvel wise. Like, they're
right,
all anybody seems to be interested in is capitalizing on the nerd money now instead of like cultivating something long term like Marvel did with the original Infinity Saga. Seems counterintuitive to me.
yeah. I mean, DC's had a history of kind of like with their movies and everything fumbling the ball. Um,
Yeah.
the gap between Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman was way too long to create a sequel and like be like, hey, you remember that movie we did 4 years ago? Well, here's its sequel, and but here is pretty much Justice League Part One.
Right. Yeah, and that's, I
So
mean, hypothetically, in that time, if they'd have put out one more movie or one more piece of something in that time frame, they would have been great. Like that would have
yeah,
been enough to bridge the gap. It would have, kept the fire hot, and it wasn't. And then they put out
no,
a I don't want to say subpar movie, but it was probably a subpar movie. Um, I guess the bar got lowered even farther on once you get into Justice League, but it definitely wasn't a great movie. It was a better movie than other movies in that series.
yeah, it it wasn't until I saw the Snyder cut that I actually liked that movie.
Yeah, which is weird to say, but it's true.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, as soon as Batman started cracking jokes, I was like, nah, I'm out.
you put your Spider-Man in my Batman. Speaking of spider things, we're gonna kick it over to Marvel for everyone's favorite, everyone's favorite movie of 2024. I don't know when it came out. Did it come out in 2024? Yeah, it did. Oh, yeah, it did. Um, Grossing approximately $100 million at the global box office, uh, and panned by just about everyone under the sun. A movie that I couldn't get through 27 minutes of. Sony Pictures' own Madam Web. I know you choked yourself through it, as
I
did
did.
various other friends of ours that also struggled their way through.
We're all movie masochists, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
I,
So nobody liked it. Everybody thought it was crap. Uh, I legit, I could not get through a half an hour of it. I shit you not. Like that first half hour was so disjointed and didn't bring me anywhere that I was like, I'm not wasting the rest of the time to watch this movie. Had I seen
you
it in a
chose
movie
wisely.
theater, yeah, had I seen it in a movie theater, I probably would have sat through it. But like sitting here on my computer screen thinking, no, not a great idea. Um, so contrary to that, and I guess as you'd expect from someone who starred in the movie, and I think Dakota Johnson came out with something similar. Emma Roberts, I don't remember what she was in American Horror Story and some other things. She's the daughter of Eric Roberts, niece of Julia Roberts. Been in a couple of horror picks. But she quote unquote thinks internet culture and everything being a joke is largely to blame for the audience's reception of Madam Web. I don't know about that. I think there are pieces of truth in that the internet has a way of doing this with things. I say that would even be more a function, those two things maybe more a function of why Morbius was like routinely panned, which, well, a bad movie, I was at least able to make it through. um I think Madam Web was just not a good movie.
No, it was a terrible movie, and up until today, I didn't even realize Emma Roberts was in the movie.
Yeah, she was apparently Mary Parker.
Yeah, apparently. There is no defense to this, how bad this movie was. I could even like pick out the voiceover of the main character or the main villain almost immediately. I'm like, wow, that doesn't sound like real audio,
Yeah,
like real like direct audio.
there were so many things that were like blatantly ADR'd in it. It was just, yeah.
I, Morbius was not a great movie either, but even the big bat Kamehameha that Morbius let out at the end of Morbius was still better than the entirety of this movie. It just you could have named this movie anything else and named the characters anything else, and it still would be a crappy movie, but at least it wouldn't be a Marvel movie. Like,
You see so in the build up to the movie, all of the marketing is strictly based on the fact that there's multiple Spider Women, and like you see Jessica. I mean, it's literally Jessica Drew and Anya Corazon and who's the third of their, was it Julia Carpenter?
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
that are played by the main leads in the movie, and yet you see them in costume in a flashback that I saw within the first 20 minutes. And the first thing Mike said to me was, "Did you see the flashback with all them in costume or flash forward or whatever it was?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Good. That's the only time you saw them in the entire movie. Like you at least saw the people in costume. That's it. That was the whole
you,
movie."
you get a you get a brief glimpse also
Oh
in
yeah,
like a at the end, a brief glimpse, but altogether, I think it's like 35 seconds of the movie
that's
altogether.
insane.
Dakota Johnson, I've seen her in other things, and she's been good
Yeah, she's
in those
not a
movies,
bad actor.
but this did not do the careers of any of those actresses or actors any favors at all. Like Emma
No, oh,
Roberts
it
would just
did.
be wise.
They got a paycheck for it.
Oh yeah, yeah, they got paid.
Yeah.
All right, it didn't do the studio any good, but uh,
Like how do you
Emma Roberts.
do that? Like you're paying Dakota Johnson, Sydney Sweeney, Isabella Merced, Emma Roberts, Mike Epps, Adam Scott. Like there's some names there that not A-listers by any stretch, but like I'm sure they weren't cheap.
No, I'm also sure, like making the spider suit wasn't cheap either.
Yeah.
In destroying a giant Pepsi sign, that probably wasn't cheap, but
And for it to only make 100.3 million.
no, and that's also crazy to think about. Like if we was it like if we went back 20 years or 25 years, 100 million would be a great uh money for a movie. That's I think
Huh.
if I
Production budget
if I'm
production budget was apparently 80 to 100 million. I don't believe
so
that.
I don't believe that either. But the fact that it made that much money still like perplexes me because as soon as like anyone that previewed it, any of the press or whoever gets to review these movies previewed it, they just bombed the shit out of this movie.
They did.
And
But it made 50 million on its opening weekend and then
okay,
fell off that hard.
yep, yeah, that's true. I mean, the word of mouth did get out. It just it it's not a good movie. There are some movies I could sit here for 2 hours and tell you why it's a bad movie, like The Last Jedi. But um, woo,
Oof.
we don't got time for
No,
that.
we ain't got time for that. We could divert that. That'll be a topic for another day because I think
Yeah.
you, me, and Mike could have a very good conversation about this
Oh my God.
from
I at one point
from a certain
almost
point of
typed
view.
out a whole college course about how bad The Last Jedi was. But um, this movie doesn't even deserve it. Like I'm just like, man, this movie just needs to go like in the trash. just straight in the trash. Like Emma Roberts would have been better just to say I plead the fifth on any questions on this movie
So
instead of keeping it alive.
so over under, um, $80 is the line that Brian has set in the chat that you could have made this movie for.
Over.
But not much.
Just because of Sydney Sweeney. But
Right. You've at least got to pay her and Adam Scott.
yeah.
Well,
Everyone, if it wasn't for those two, under. But
so yeah. Now that we've taken the Sony route, let's go into the good side of Marvel.
okay.
Think that's the direction we want to head. There was another another series that nobody really wanted or thought they needed or could care less about up until like the trailer just came out. This show will debut on September 18th, 2024, and it is based on Agatha Harkness. It has had 75 different names over the course of its development, currently known as Agatha All Along, uh, based on Catherine Hahn's Agatha from the WandaVision series. Is there anything after watching this teaser that makes you want to see this?
Yeah, I mean, there are some really dark points to that trailer, like that whatever that creature was
At the end
that
there?
was all yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, what is that? I like I like the fact that it kind of starts off as the trailer makes it feel like a detective horror kind of
Yeah.
kind of series, but I can definitely tell that that's probably the first episode, and then it switches gears and starts going back to the Agatha Harkness that like the cornball Agatha Harkness we met in WandaVision,
Yeah. But
and
possibly
then
switches back off of that to something else. It seems there's a lot of different vibes getting given off in this trailer. And it might
yeah,
be one thing I'm thinking is it's probably going to be similar to its predecessor in the sense that every episode when we meet Agatha, it's going to be a different feel to her. Or some
yeah,
iteration of that, like for at least a couple different feels of that character. They did title all of the episodes different things, including all of the past names for the show, including House of Harkness, Coven of Chaos, Darkhold Diaries. Um, so it's going to be, I believe, finishing up on or around Thanksgiving, around October in the Halloween spooky season. Seeing it's debuting the end of September. So I don't know.
oh, I'm going to be really interested to see if it ties into an overall like whatever's going on or happening in other parts of the MCU
Yeah,
because with it being rooted in like the horror stuff and it being around Halloween time, like are they going to incorporate elements of Werewolf by Night in there? Because we haven't seen those characters since Werewolf by Night, which was
oh, give me a man
excellent.
thing. Give me a man thing.
Right, right. At least like give me a cameo in episode 7 or something
Yeah.
like that. Just
Similar to what we got in
something
Werewolf
there.
by Night right at the end. Like that was perfect.
Yeah,
I need to
yeah.
rewatch that again this year. That was such a
Same.
good short.
I think I've seen it twice, and that's also like where I'm thinking this series is going. I'm like, could this series be like, did this series need to be the production that Disney put it put into it, or could it have been like a Marvel one shot?
Right.
Like an hour and a half mini movie or something like that. So,
All
because
I'm
again, like you said, no one asked for this.
right.
When they announced it, I'm just like, what is Marvel doing? Like, why are we sinking this much money into this?
But at the same
But
time, when you see that trailer, you're like, I kind of want to watch it.
yeah, yeah, I
Uh,
kind of do. And
Especially when the first non-Catherine Hahn thing you see is Aubrey Plaza. I'm like, oh, we're
yeah,
onto something here. Like she's a good enough actor to carry, like between her and Catherine Hahn, that's it's a good enough 1-2 punch that can carry this.
Right. So when I saw her, I was like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Let's
And we've
see what
seen
kind of
you've seen Legion, right?
uh
If
that
you
was the show on Fox, right?
FX, yeah.
I, yeah, I never finished it. I think I only got through the first season.
Okay. Um, she was an absolute gem in it.
Okay.
Uh, I'd assume you're probably not going back to watch it.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
But go ahead. Go ahead.
She is Shadow King
Okay.
and plays the multiple sides of what's going on inside. You know, David Haller is his own messed up mind, but
Mm.
Farouk trying to mess with him, and she's conveying all of this. It works all too well. It's like wheels within wheels, and she pulls off conveying all of that insincerity. If that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
But it was one of those where, like, I think that was the first thing I really saw her in where I'm like, she's got chops. She can turn it up. So
I never got into what was the show she's really known for? Is that
was it was like, was it either Community or
Parks and Rec?
maybe,
No, it
or
wasn't
one of
Parks and Rec.
them.
I never got into that, so I didn't really like. I knew who she was, but I didn't really get into like her career.
Yeah, Parks and Rec. I
Okay.
I can't get into sitcoms. I don't know why. Like, I've fallen off the ability to watch a sitcom.
If it's like like Family Matters or something, I'll watch that all day. But
Yeah, you put old 90s sitcoms, I'd probably sit down and watch them for a bit, but
yeah, I will mindlessly watch them all day. I think that's why I like She-Hulk because it was like a mindless '90s sitcom
it really
almost.
was. And it was, again, you know, something that was self-aware, and it was just good.
Yeah, so that's what I'm hoping that kind of quality comes to Agatha. Um, Something that knows what it is, maybe has some tie-ins to some overarching stories in the MCU, but nothing crazy, so it can kind of just stand on its own.
Yep.
Uh, and I don't want it to just be disappointing at the ending. I guess I mean that's our hope for anything, but like
It will be.
like
Also, Brian's
kind of
yelling
like
at us for not knowing Parks and Rec.
I'm sorry. I couldn't. I tried. I tried a couple. It's kind of like me in the office. I try and I can't.
I
Which
tried that.
you know,
I tried Community. I tried Modern Family, like Schitt's Creek. Any of these that people are like, these are gems, and I'm like, I'm sure they are. I just can't do it.
now that I've said the office, there's going to be people with pitchforks outside my apartment and burning steaks and whatever. But
Yeah, that sounds right.
yeah,
So
but
yeah, I mean, overall, I think both of us are of the ilk with Agatha that neither of us gave two flying shits about this more than an hour ago when I sent you the link to the trailer.
not right. And pleasantly surprised after watching the trailer.
Right. Set the bar low. And that's, I think anyone who's listened to the pod for a while, like, I've taken the bar and my expectations for any of these shows of like years of knowledge of books and all the other shit that's happened and just thrown it out the window. I've like given up on having any expectations for anything. That's my new mantra. And like, Quantumania wasn't as bad as everybody thought it was when you don't actually expect anything.
I didn't mind Quantum Mania. I was actually shocked at when the internet hated it.
Yeah, I mean, the internet hates everything now, it seems. Similar to what um Roberts was saying. However, that wasn't the reason that it was bad.
No, no, no. I mean I get what she was saying, but just in that case it did not apply at all.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds right. Um, you know what's much better than that movie was? Comics,
What's that? Yes.
just in general. Um,
Overall.
yeah, we did have, and this is about a movie that came from comics. So it was, yeah, uh, didn't do it justice. One thing we saw that did everything justice that possibly could was something that's become a weird trend lately on trailers for drawn works, like weird mini
Yeah.
animation of things that I don't know if I like or not, but I really enjoyed this, and it might have just been because it touched my X-Men fancy. Um,
Have you
they
ever sat through an animated uh comic book before? Just a full on animated comic book?
no, that's a thing.
There's a few of them.
Hmm.
I think there's a couple on Amazon, if on Prime Video, if you ever want to look them up. But continue.
Okay, do I want to look them up or no?
Yeah, probably not.
Okay. Uh, that solves that problem. Um, one thing that solved the problem that I didn't know I had was a missing Gail Simone in my life. Um, the trailer that we're talking about was for the upcoming Uncanny X-Men. Uh, this is a X-Men team and part of the new reboot From the Ashes that is written by the one, the only Gail Simone, drawn by David Marquez. Art looks great. Gail Simone always absolutely nails what she's doing. Um, she's kind of she's done some work for Marvel in the past and is known for her Deadpool run, some other things. But she was quick to praise those who came before her with the ultimate or the uncanny title, "The Shadows of the Giants," and I quote, "The Shadows of the Giants who have worked on this book before all over the landscape." And it gets a little emotional to think about. It's an honor and a thrill and a panic all at once. You know what? We'll save that for a minute because I'm sure you have thoughts. But like Simone is taking over the title that Claremont like brought into the forefront and
Hmm.
Lee brought into the early 90s, and like all these all these major influential writers that have come before, and I can't wait for her to do it justice because everything from that trailer seems like it will.
So I haven't picked up a mainline X title
Yep.
in a very long time. Absolutely very
Yep.
long time because it got a little muddy there for a little bit.
Little?
Like as far
A
as like
little muddy?
story wise, there's
It got a
a
little
little,
muddy.
just a bit. It,
Really?
it there was I mean, like you've said before on the show, there's just way too many titles out there, and I'm like, there's not any good jumping on point for me without collecting 5 series to kind of get the whole idea of what's going on. With Gail Simone jumping onto this title, and it seems like we're at a point where it's a good time to jump on to like X-Men titles, maybe. Um, I think I might pick up that title just for the sheer fact that Gail Simone is writing it. I like the team formation from what I saw in the trailer. You have Jubilee, Rogue, um, Gambit,
Yep.
and like 2, 3 others.
Nightcrawler and Wolverine.
Nightcrawler and
I like how
Wolverine.
Nightcrawler and Wolverine are your two or three others.
Yeah,
That's how ridiculous this team is.
yeah.
So yeah,
I,
for Uncanny, you have those six as the main line, and or those five, and then Simone has mentioned that there are going to be about 4 new mutants that are introduced in this run. The run's going to be
okay.
18 issues. I want to say monthly. So there's going to be 3 kind of mainline titles. Exceptional with Emma running it, um, and then the mainline X-Men title is going to be Jed MacKay and Ryan Stegman. Exceptional is Eve Ewing and Carmen Carnero, who, I mean, that's going to be a great title too. I hate that I'm going to have to pull all 3 of these. But the main line, you have, Charles, Kid Omega, Juggernaut, Magic, Psylocke, Beast, and Cyclops.
I might actually have to pull all three of those myself because
It's
it
it's
sounds
insane.
fun. At first, David Marquez's artwork when I was watching the trailer and I had no idea, because they didn't tell you who did it. I thought it was Carlos Gomez just by the way Rogue was drawn
Yep.
at first, and I'm like, man, they finally gave Carlos Gomez artwork on a title that matters, but I was I was mistaken.
Alas.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with Carlos Gomez, but he was the
Yeah,
guy that worked on
he did Rogue and Gambit, didn't he?
Rogan Gambit. He also did Exterminators,
Okay. Yep.
which Terminators either you loved it or you hated it, but it looked fantastic. So
Oh, now I'm pulling up some of the covers he did for the Fantastic Four stuff.
yeah, he's been praised for his work on Fantastic Four.
Yep. Ms. Marvel.
I,
Looks like he
I
did
was,
a bunch of covers for that.
he was on the first miniseries of Miss Marvel, so I was just like hoping they were gonna give him like a full mainline run, but
Yep.
oh well. Uh, this book though looks amazing, and I will definitely be picking up Uncanny, if
Yeah.
not all three.
Yeah, I mean all three are definitely at least getting the number one treatment out of me. And then who knows if I run with them? Who am I kidding? I probably will. I'm a sadist when it comes to the X-Men. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it's great to see. I guess it's great to see that creative team or all these creative teams coming together. Um, the the other thing that made me realize that Simone gets it, and I quote, "Everyone has an X-Man they feel speaks to them directly. My first idea was I want to lay out a welcome mat for all readers, new, returning, and lifelong. They deserve the best mutant stories I can give them. I want to focus on the humanity, no pun intended. Big action, big personalities. There's no other franchise like it in comics." Which, I mean, it's kind of true. Like, there's nothing that really touches between the history of and the way that it's portrayed the X-Men. And I might just be partial,
No,
but
no. I mean, it's definitely some big shoes to fill, but in you're gonna have like a bunch of readers like me coming back to the franchise. Now that
yeah,
Greco was done and all of all of the giant craziness was going on. I'm glad that they're doing this model. I kind of wanted Marvel to just kind of do something like this anyways, but this is very welcoming um, way of doing it, pulling three titles rather than eight a month.
yeah. And they are going with so they're doing the three quote unquote main lines. And then there will also be like Storm's going to have an ongoing, Wolverine's going to have an ongoing, like I don't know if they're minis or on, like Wolverine's always going to have his ongoing title. I think Storm's going to have like
Right.
a 6 issue, and they're gonna take some of the stories and bring them into like 6 issue minis and stuff like that. But as far as the pure ongoings, I think it's going to be the three.
I,
Oh
I think that's a smart
yeah,
way to do it.
like they're redoing
But
the old NYX that problematically introduced Laura back in the day, Laura Kinney, X-23.
mm,
Um, Bendis is Bendis, whatever. Um, but they're bringing that back. They're bringing a couple other titles back that I think are going to be shorter minis or defined runs versus a normal like full ongoing.
yeah, um, Marvel I think went a route where even DC did this for a while, where like there was too many books, too many titles, too many bi-monthly books. Like I mean, even I can't remember if Batman is still bi-monthly, but I mean, irregardless, like the bi-monthly books started getting to be a bit much, like even for a guy that limits the amount of books he buys, like myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it got to the point where I'm like, I am 18 issues behind. There's probably no chance in hell I'm going to be catching up on this, unless like I one night I just sit down and force myself to read for 2 hours, and at that point it feels like a chore, and I don't want to do it, and all this stuff, blah 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 blah. So having more way to access these stories a little bit better,
Yeah.
I think that welcomes new readers, especially if like you're getting someone that's jumping onto comics and they want content coming out, but they don't want so much of it that it overwhelms them, and then they run the other way like they should. But kidding.
Sorry, I got distracted because I pulled up what they're doing for the From the Ashes. I did in the main line. I did miss that they're including Temper, who was a Matt Fraction and Kieran Gillen creation, a additional member of the team. That should be interesting to see. Kind of her first time in the limelight.
Hmm.
There will be a Phoenix ongoing, just focusing on Jean
Really?
Grey. Well, because at the end of Krakoa, Jean is effectively dead, but now not. But usual Jean Grey weird things.
Okay.
Yeah,
Fair.
you know, it's. I always love. I always love when you're you're talking to someone who understands X-Men history. When you're like, yeah, Jean Grey did Jean Grey things. Okay, moving on. Um,
Did she faint after using her powers?
yes, and then died.
Mm.
Um, again, because yeah, that's her. Um, they're doing the NYX with Enol, Ms. Marvel, Prodigy, One of the Cuckoos, and X-23. There will be an X Force with Betsy Braddock, Deadpool, Forge, Rachel, Sage, Surge, and Tank. Storm is getting the ongoing I was talking about. Wolverine gets his Wolverine book. There's going to be an X Factor. Like I'd assume a lot of these are, pull the three main line, and if something hits you on the other ones, feel free. And then they're doing a one shot for Mystique and a Dazzler mini.
Oh, I did hear about the Dazzler.
So
I'm, if I remember right, that actually the Dazzler sounded exciting.
Dazzler boggles my mind. Like, why are they like capitalizing on the hype lately, or like
I would
I
assume
haven't
so.
seen Dazzler anywhere near anything until it was rumored about the Swift casting.
Listen, man, T Swift is going to make that character give that character her renaissance right there.
I can't wait until July, end of July, when she doesn't show up in the movie.
Yeah, yeah, I'm on two minds about it. I'm like, listen, if they want this movie to be the box office smash it is,
Yeah,
then they need to have her in there. If they don't give two flying craps, then I still think they need to have her in there as the Dazzler. But
right.
I mean,
The thing is, it's already going to be $1 billion movie. The question is whether it like gives Avatar a run for its money. Because if
right,
Swift is in it, there's a chance that it might.
yeah, yeah, the Swifties are crazy.
Yep.
No offense to any Swifties watching this show, but the Swifties are crazy.
They are
Um,
their own animal.
they are. I mean, they're also doing Marvel's also doing a whole bunch of Dazzler themed covers across all their titles too. Like the Hulk has a Dazzler theme. Have you seen these?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, okay. Like the Hulk has like the disco outfit on and everything
Hmm.
like that. And I'm like, which they're way better than the Godzilla crossover ones. Like the artwork is just phenomenal. But um, some of them were great.
Yeah. No, they some they always try and do these cross brand launches and whatnot, and sometimes they're really really good, and sometimes they're not. This one was pretty damn solid.
Yeah, yeah. No, these were all good. I mean they might have other big things planned for the character, and she's always been on again, off again popular.
Yeah.
throughout her run as an existing character, but I never fully understood it, but
Well, the thing that
I
pisses me off is it's going to cause X-Men 130 to go through the roof. And all I want is X-Men 130 because it's part 2 of Dark Phoenix. Like, I don't care about the fact that it's the first Dazzler. I just want it as one of the 6 for Dark Phoenix.
you're right. Well, what was it going for before Taylor Swift was rumored?
Oh, sweet Jesus. I think not like $30, something
Oh
like
wow,
that.
all right,
Like for
yeah,
a floppy, like non-slabbed, you could get it for pretty cheap.
okay,
And now on Go Collect, you've got like, oh, let's see, a 9.6 is going for like 425.
yeah, that sounds about right for inflation.
Yeah, like a
For
4.0,
inflated prices like that.
a 4.0 is going for $100.
Oh my God.
It's insanity.
Don't collect comics, kids.
No, no. I'm waiting for some slabs to come back from CGC, but they got slowed up in the holiday, I think.
Should have had me send them in. Would
It's
have been
true.
here quick.
They would have been here quick,
And
and
they
they
would
would
all
have
be
been like 9.8s guaranteed.
they'll be all 9/8. For those that don't know what I'm talking about, I don't know where it went, but I had a
It doesn't
first
exist.
appearance of Spider Gwen that had probably no business of being a 9/8, and it came back as a 9/8.
Hey,
Don't know how, don't know why. I did have it right behind me. I don't know where it went. Oh well.
yep. Well, there's no good segue there. You know what I do have next to me?
What do you
The
have next to you?
the book that I was supposed to review for Jesse this week. DC's
Oh,
Absolute
okay.
Power #1. So I don't know if you had a chance to read this at all or uh, thumb through it or hear
I have
anything about
not.
it. Um,
I heard about it. Haven't read it yet.
so it's their latest cross promotional. This is in tying into every line under the sun. Written by Mark Waid, art by Dan Mora, colors by Alejandro Sanchez. Mora just does Mora things. Like I always have liked his art. Really enjoyed him on Once and Future. This is it's good. It's great art. It is what it is.
Hmm.
There's some killer splash in it. Which where the heck is it? Basically the gist is Amanda Waller is taking over various AIs and news networks and whatever, trying to depower all the metahumans, and actually doing a good job of it. At one point, like the comic opens with Superman being shot and him
Oh,
actually being
really?
shot. So there's that, and it goes downhill from there. Um, there is the appearance of the oh, what the hell are they called? I can never remember. Either way, the effectively the DC Sentinels. I think they're Astros or
Okay.
something like that. But like Mora does this killer multi-page splash on them powering up and going insane and attacking all these metahumans, and Green Arrow turns against the rest of the good guys, and there's a bunch of weird twists and turns. Won't spoil the end, but in general, I don't know. There was a lot of flash. There was a lot of action, a lot of things happening. I don't 100% know how much substance there was to it, but it's definitely got some promise. I may pick up a second just to see where it goes. So
Is it how many parts is
it's
it?
a 4-part mini. But then
4-part mini?
so that's the main line, and then there's a bunch of tie-ins from all the other books or whatever.
I mean, if it's all drawn by Dan Moore, then
That's
I'm probably have to pick it up.
right. The four that I was like the main line. I'm like I could just look at it.
You're right.
So,
But
did you ever read Once in Future? Was him and
I actually I own I recently picked up 1 through 30 for a bargain for
nice.
like $80 bargain.
He
But
did
I
beautiful work on that.
also own the deluxe hardcover of like the first half of the series,
Oh, that's awesome.
and I got it signed by Dan Moore.
Nice. Very
So
nice.
yes, I love Once in Future.
Yeah.
It is a phenomenal book. But
It's one of those things where like years ago I enjoyed the Arthurian legend and then kind of fell off like just it's one of those where it's like okay, it is what it is. Like okay, moving on to something new. And that kind of brought me back around to it. And I was like, "Oh yeah, this really like tale as old as time, but holy shit, it works." And the new twist that they put on it, it was like, "Okay, we're onto something here." And
oh
then
oh yeah,
Mora being Mora, like I was like, okay, I'll be fine. This is good. I'm gonna keep reading it.
I picked it up. I picked up volume 1, the trade, on a whim, and I was flipping through that at a comic shop that has now since been closed. Um, but I would always do that when I was down there because it was like 2.5 hours away,
Yep.
and just pick up like $200 worth of books when I'd go down there. And I picked that up because volume 1 was only $9.99, and I'm reading it, and I'm like, man, this is it. Who's the artist? Dan Mora? Who's this
Who's
guy?
that guy? Yeah.
And I yeah, I've loved him ever since. I love the stuff he does for DC. It's not my favorite. I'd rather see more of like Once in Future, but
His indie
by
stuff
far,
is definitely its own like a different level for him.
I still think he's one of the best artists DC has working for him.
Yeah.
So, well, now that I know that, I'm probably more apt to pick Absolute Power #1 up.
Well, there you go. There
Um,
you go.
I too have a book that I'd like to review.
Okay, fire away.
Uh, so being on here actually inspired me to read.
Instead of just draw.
Yeah, instead of just draw. I mean, I'm still feeling that creator's guilt, but I picked both 1 and 2 up of Grommets.
Hmm.
I don't know if you've seen this book down at
No, I
Funky
didn't.
Town. I know the reprint to 1 just came out. Turns out I have 2 copies of #1, but the artwork on the cover matches
Yeah.
the artwork on the inside.
Okay.
It is basic. It is basically 1980s skater, uh, skater
Oh, that's awesome.
stuff.
It's like
So
a post Scooby Doo
yeah,
kind of weird skater vibe to it. Yeah.
it's like it's kind of like I would say art style Archie meets Scotty Young's I Hate Fairyland.
Okay. Yeah. I got you there.
Um, but anyways, the main character, which right now name escapes me, he's like teenager. It starts off in 1984 in issue 1, and he's moving to a new town in California, and he's trying to make friends. It's like your like high school punk rocky feel to it. He meets a friend who probably is a big giant piece of garbage
Hmm.
as he yet to be seen, but they go to a skate park, and that's where like you just start meeting the cast of characters that are in here,
Yeah.
and it's it's awesome.
Nice.
I enjoy it. I like I didn't know how well I would like it,
Hmm.
but pages look pretty, so I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna pick this up on a whim. I thought about it, and finally I picked both issues 1 and 2 up, with intent of reading them sometime, but got to reading them, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. They're very quick reads.
Yep.
They're very adult. There's a lot of 80s humor in there. It's written by Rick Remender, who's known for
Yeah.
Black Science. Also
No,
co-written
known
by
for Black
Brian
Suns. No,
Posehn.
no. Rick Remender is known for the best X-Force run ever.
Okay, I stand corrected. Also written by Brian Posehn.
Weird.
Is that how you say it? Yeah,
That's how I've
you know
always.
who that is.
Yeah.
With Brett Parson as the artist, Marino Dinascio as the colorist, and Russ Wooten as the letterer. But again, like I can't. I dig this clean like
Oh yeah.
Gotti Young inspired artwork.
Yeah.
There's a lot of adult language, adult humor, maybe some dated humor in there too, but
Right.
it takes place 84, 85, so like they even say like, you know, they kind of almost give you a little bit of warning at the beginning of the book,
Right.
but
Like, hey, this is supposed to be set in this time period. It's written as if it was written in that time period.
yeah, it's solid.
Nice. Yeah,
But
that's great. The was it Post saying that has the doesn't he have like a D&D podcast with Jerry Duggan?
I think so.
Yeah.
He for a while he was involved in everything. Like he made a metal band at one point.
Oh, he's definitely that guy. Like if you don't know
Yeah,
the name we're talking about, Google it and like you will immediately know him.
yeah.
Because he's
Big
been
Bang.
on the out like the periphery of everything for a long time at this point.
He had a ongoing mini role on Big Bang Theory, right? Yeah.
I don't know. Never saw it.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was on
Again,
there.
another one of those like I just couldn't get into it.
Yeah. It's kind of like The Walking Dead for me. I spent so long that I stuck with it to the end.
See, Breaking Bad Breaking Bad and Walking Dead I never watched. Because by the time I got around to picking them up, well, no, Breaking Bad we tried. My wife and I tried to get into. We got a season and about 7 episodes in, and we were just like, it's not grabbing us. Everyone's like, oh, you got to keep watching it. I'm like, if it's a show that I have to keep watching more than a season and a half of to make it get good, then it's probably not for me. And apparently it becomes one
Yeah.
of the best TV shows of all time, but I never got there.
I got through Breaking Bad. It was a little rough for certain seasons,
Mhm.
but it was overall it was really good. I didn't care for the way it ended like a lot of people did. Walking Dead, they could have probably ended it after season 7 and that would have been okay. Big Bang Theory, mindless TV sitcom, but it's one of those modern sitcoms, so I can see why you don't like it.
Yeah. Plus, it is a laugh
But,
track. Anything with a laugh track can go shit in a hat.
and for the people that are just listening on audio, because I never actually said the name of this book, called Grommets. Oh, I just realized I never said that name out loud. Grommets, written by Rick Remender, Brian Posehn. Good stuff. Make
That's
sure you
great.
get down to your local comic shop, check it out.
Mm-hmm. This week, you can also check out at your local comic shop more Absolute Power tie-ins with Absolute Power Task Force 7, number 1. Amazing Spider-Man number 53. We have Avengers 16, Batman and Robin number 11. Black Panther Blood Hunt number 1, Blood Soaked second printing. So the Blood Soaked are the I guess red band versions.
Okay.
So there's apparently a second printing of the Blood Hunt number 1 for Black Panther. Cobra Commander trade. If you missed those, that was a great little run you can pick up in trade now. Critical Role Vox Machina Origins. They're putting out new book there. Deadpool number 1 facsimile. Domain number 1, Doom number 1 second printing. If you did not read the Doom one shot, that was absolutely killer. May go down as one of the comics of the year.
At the very least, pick it up for the artwork.
Yes. Yep. Wow. My brain was just like, well, if it's a second printing, it's not going to have the same artwork. No, that's not true. I'm an idiot. but yeah, Jonathan Hickman wrote it. Stanford Green penciled it, and apparently co-wrote it. But that was absolutely killer. I have nothing but good things to say about it. And apparently is like ridiculously flying up in price.
Yeah, my copy that I was actually gonna read today if I had time. Last I knew it was going up there, and I'm like I should just probably bag it and board it and read it online somewhere.
Yeah, that's my brain was like, do I just take and like wait until it comes out to reread it on um, unlimited?
Hmm.
And that's probably what I'll end up doing because I mean, well, you can see that other people can't. That mine's just sitting over there on the shelf. Um, so yeah, we'll see how that goes. Initially, when I read that, I thought it was Doom, the 1980s or 1990s video game. Alas, it was not. It was Doctor Doom. Um,
Yeah.
but whatever. Falling in Love on the Path to Hell #2. That was a surprise #1 that I reviewed for Jesse. That was absolutely killer. So #2 is coming out this week. That is a tale of a samurai and a Western cowboy that end up trapped together in a zombie apocalypse.
Okay.
Jerry Duggan, Gary Brown on art, um, with a Chip Zdarsky B cover. Didn't know he was drawing things, but apparently he's drawing things.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, but that one I would definitely recommend picking up. I think there might be one or maybe two #1 issues left at Funky Town. I'm sure they'll be getting #2 in, but that's definitely worth a pickup. Freakier than normal #1. Have no idea what that is, but it's a new #1, and the title sounds cool. Death in the Family. Robin Lives. They're doing a facsimile #1. Geiger #4. I know some people are pretty high on. Is it Image or IDW that's putting that out? IDW
I think it's
or no?
is it
Is it
IDW?
Image?
I think it's Image.
Yeah, Image sounds right. If Paco was in the chat, he could correct us, but he's not. Giant Size Silver Surfer #1, riding that Fantastic Four train. Hulk Blood Hunt #1, Human Fly #0, Hunger in the Dusk Book 2 #1. Yes. Have you?
Image.
Is it Image?
Yeah.
Have you read Hunger in the Dusk at all?
No, I flipped through it a couple times. It kept coming out on weeks that were very heavy, and I
Yeah.
I I didn't
So
want to pick up that extra book, but I'm like, man, that does look good
so
though.
Chris Wildgoose did amazing on the artwork. Different take on the classic fantasy, kind of a crisper, cleaner, but I don't want to say softer. A lot
Hmm.
heavier pencils on like the outlines on some of the darker image. It's a weird. I don't even know how to describe it, but it's a really shouldn't be a unique take on it, but it looks much different than most high fantasy. Um,
Okay.
but the story from G. Will Wilson is utterly fantastic as well. The trade just came out for the first series, and then this is the first issue of book 2.
And she was the one you guys had on the show, right?
Yep. Yeah. If you're interested
Yeah.
in hearing about that, we did interview G. Willow Wilson maybe a couple months ago. So that's
Hmm.
back in the feed.
That was
Um,
a solid show.
oh, absolutely. That was amazing to have the opportunity to talk to her. It was great. Um, I Hate Fairyland Compendium 1, trade paperback, subtitled "The Whole Fluffing Tale." So that just seems great. Ice Cream Man #40, if you're into that thing. I know Jesse is. Justice League versus Godzilla versus King Kong hardcover. Kid Venom #1.
Is that finally over?
It must be if they're putting the hardcover out.
Okay.
I don't know why. I read the first issue and I still don't know why it was a thing. Um,
Yeah. No.
Kid Venom
I think
number
I
one
stopped
is
picking
going
it
to
up.
be what's that?
I think I stopped picking it up after like issue 4 or something. But
Yeah, Kid Venom #1 is supposed to be a pretty big book this week. I can never tell whether I want to read a Venom book or couldn't care less about a Venom book, but a lot of people love it, so keep it on your radar. Kill All Immortals #1. That seems interesting. I mean, is Marvel finally trying to get rid of the Immortals? But whatever. Midnight Suns Blood Hunt #1, second printing. Moon Knight Fist of Khonshu #0. Moon Man #3. What else we got? And I don't run through these nearly as quickly as Mike does, so anyone listening can just, I don't know, sit back and relax. Spawn Origins, Spider-Boy #9, Spider-Gwen, Ghost Spider #1, second printing. That was a phenomenal book if you did not get a chance to read it. The second printing of the #1 is out this week. Star Wars Ahsoka #1. I know both of us are excited about that. You know what, is that what they've been doing in a retelling of the show, or is that a new mini?
I would hope that it's a new mini.
It is an
Again,
adaptation of the first episode of the television series. Damn it.
I'll still pick it up. There's an exclusive, an Unknown Comics exclusive cover for that as well that David Nakayama did. So I'll be getting the cover A and his exclusive as well. So
oh God, yeah.
Again, missed opportunity for not putting out a blank cover of that, but maybe they're going to do it for like a second or third reprinting like Marvel's been doing. So
yeah, could be. Either way,
one can hope.
Yeah. What else we got? Symbiote Spider-Man 2099 #5. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 40th anniversary comic celebration. Did you hear about this?
No, I've been more focused on TMNT #1, 2, and everything tying into that. So I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, when is that coming out? Is that next week?
TMNT #1 comes out, I think, in 2 weeks.
Yeah, the first one's the RAF, right?
Yes.
Because the first 4 are going to be each of the turtles individually.
First one is Raph. Second one is
Mikey.
Mikey. I don't know.
I think it's Donnie, then
the
Leo.
order after that. I would assume so.
Yeah. But this 40th anniversary celebration is a bunch of new stories in anthology style. So there's some that look like classic Eastman and Laird. There are, some that look like the 90s cartoon. There are some that look, something completely unique. Each a different kind of mix of comedy and whatever through all the different eras of the Turtles. Since, they've been around for 40 plus years at this point. I guess this is year 40. The original was 1984. So yeah, it's kind of an homage to everybody over the years that's had a hand in making the Turtles what they are, and should be pretty darn good in my book.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely pick it up and check it out. Especially since I'm kind of hyping up, or getting hyped up for Turtles again. Doing a cover for that, for the show earlier this year.
Yep.
Other things I can't talk about, but yeah, like I think it's like the X-Men. It's a good time to jump on and be a fan of the Turtles, and especially if you're newer to the franchises. So,
what's a really crazy thing? Turtles are as old as I am, and I've been a fan of them consistently throughout. Like, even when I fell off of comic books and like any of those, like probably through the mid-aughts to maybe early to mid 2010s, I still ended up, like, when they put out that like the cartoon Turtles movie, still ended up going to theaters with a buddy of mine to go watch that. It's like, I don't know what it is about the Turtles. They've stuck with me for the entirety of my life.
I mean, same. I grew up with comics on again, off again.
Yep.
In the little town I grew up in, but Turtles was always a constant because either I had the cartoons, I
Right.
had the movies, or whatever. Turtles have always found some way to you know be part of my nerd fandom in my life. So
Right. Well, and that's like growing up. Comics were very, like you said. I mean, I grew up in the middle of nowhere, Boonville, New York, the thriving metropolis. Technically, Forestport, which is a suburb of Boonville, nobody knows where either of them are. So, uh, but we had to go down to Utica, the quote unquote big city, to get any sort of books or anything. So, as a kid, a lot of everything that I knew was shaped by the cartoon, like you're saying, and like for the X-Men from the original X-Men animated series, or Batman the animated series, or whatever. It was what was on TV more so than what was in the books, until I could get down. And that was the thing, is we'd like mail order random collections of books. So I'd have like Hulk 372, and like the next book would be like Amazing Spider-Man 552. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I read through all of them so many goddamn times that like my Spidey 376 had no cover on it, and I
yep.
was like, oh, well, so much for that. You didn't need one of those. But yeah,
my 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 Solar Man #2 disintegrated.
Yep.
If anyone doesn't know what Solar Man is, it's the pinnacle of collecting comic books. Even had a cartoon pilot that aired the week before X-Men, the animated series.
That's great. And it was a Stan Lee joint, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, Solar Man #2 cover with Solar Man and Doom.
Yeah.
In the clutches of Doom.
Pinnacle of collecting comics right there. It ran for 2 issues.
Hey, on eBay, it's still at least $9 for issue #2.
Yeah, you can find it in a show for like $2 and a $2 thing. But anytime I come across it, it's one of those books I pick up just cause.
Just because you have
Just
to.
cause.
Yeah. So tying those two together, my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 Secret of the Ooze comic book that retold the movie, that I watched the movie 8,000 times and also read the comic book 8,000 times. The cover of that is, I have it, but it is no longer attached to the book. So that's fun.
Okay. Also in Turtles news, like that ties in with the Turtles. Granite State Comic Con. Have you ever heard of this show?
Oh yeah.
This year, crazy guest lineup for this one, because
Really?
it's basically the Turtles Con, and they have the same actors plus more that we had in Syracuse. Like, they have Ernie Reyes Jr.
Yep.
I think they
Brian
just
Tochi.
announced that they got all 4 of the original voice actors from the cartoon, or at least most of them. I know they announced Leonardo earlier today. Kevin Eastman will be there.
Eastman, yeah.
And there's a very, very high rumor that Peter Laird will be appearing.
Oh wow, an actual Eastman and Laird duo.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did kind of make up lately, didn't they?
They did. He appeared last year, and me and my friend didn't go, and I was mad because we didn't go, because he's the last signature I need on my last Ronin book. I have the
Oh really?
I have the hardcover signed by everybody else, including Eastman, except for Peter Laird. So I need that.
You thought about it last year when they were all here. I didn't. I have the #1 floppy sitting over. I have 1 through 5 floppies sitting over there. That is literally the day after the con. I was like, shit.
Yeah.
Like, I have like one of the most prolific Turtles books in modern history right here, and didn't do anything about it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how it goes. I couldn't find any of my Steve Orlando stuff to bring with me either. So
Yep. I just ended up
it was
buying.
all
I ended up buying one of his
it,
trades to support him. I was like, yeah, here you go.
like you can
Please
see
sign it.
like just right above my shoulder, there is
Yep.
just a mountain of comics
Oh
that
yeah.
I still have yet to sort through.
Mm-hmm. That'll happen.
But
Uh,
oh yeah,
speaking of the rest of the comics this week, I think we had all those that was seemed nice, but we haven't hit any of the craziness. Transformers number 10. Also, Transformers number 1 is how many printings do you think that's gone to?
um, it's got to be getting close to at least its seventh printing.
Seventh printing. Transformers number 1, seventh printing out this week.
Wow,
And
I
I
hit
mean,
that right on the head.
that book is absolutely killer, but 7 printings is insane.
Hmm.
Transformers 10. I mean, that series is still. I mean, I think I'm one behind. I don't think I've read 9 yet, but that is still cooking. Ultimates number 2, so continuing that universe. And then I don't know, Wolverine Blood Hunt number 3, and then this small book called X-Men number 1. I don't know if we've heard of it.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Oh,
yeah.
small book, but very small.
So that's dropping this week at your local comic shop. I believe. Uh, correct me if I'm wrong. Our friends down at the shop doing something special for that? I think they might
I
be. I don't know if it's official yet, but we'll keep you in the
I
loop.
think so. Last I knew, there may be one or two 1 in 100s available,
Yeah. So, um,
which is a J. Scott Campbell cover.
hmm that's
Kind of
yeah.
want
I kind of hate you saying that. Um,
it.
now I've got to look up what it looks like and probably want it myself and probably won't end up getting it. But
The
oh, there's a couple of nice blanks for you.
oh yeah, that's right. There is blanks for that one. Well, I'm
Oh,
sure he
dude,
got them.
did you see the Alex Ross web store one?
No, I did not.
Oh, it is a his take on the classic X-Men with the title block in the classic X-Men design. I wish I had a way to show it uh, to the crowd. I still haven't set that up and figured it out. But that Psylocke,
Oh,
yeah, that's absolutely killer.
with Beast and Angel like right in
Uh-huh.
front of the logo. Yeah.
If that's one that you have to grab off his web store, uh wonder when they'll launch that, because that's worth taking a look at. That Psylocke 1 of
Yeah.
100 is absolutely insane.
I have given J. Scott Campbell a lot of my money in recent months, so I don't know if I'll be going after this one.
No,
Especially with the
I will go for the just B cover J. Scott Campbell that isn't the
yeah
version, because the
yeah
art's still killer and it'll be a lot less. No, no, nope. I lied. You know how you're giving J. Scott Campbell a lot of your money? If you haven't noticed, I give John Tyler Christopher a lot of my money.
yeah.
And he has an absolutely killer negative space magic. I don't know if you saw that, but
I have not.
it's it's an um, all black negative space magic. So, well, shit. There go. Now I know what I'm getting.
Yep.
Well, at least
Well,
we know.
now I know that there's a couple blanks I'll be picking up this
Yep.
next week too. So
So,
make sure I have some money on me for that
oh,
one.
the Scotty Young one looks good too. Damn it. Why do they have to be so many good covers?
Speaking of Scotty Young, and I didn't hear you say it on the list, but Ain't No Grave 3 should be coming out this week too, unless they pushed it back.
Yes, it is. And I actually
So
had that highlighted to talk or to bring up.
outside of uh Grommets, I read issues 1 and 2 of Ain't No Grave
Nice. Pretty good.
today, and I've been yeah, oh, this is great. It's penciled by the same guy who is currently penciling Transformers, Jorge Corona.
Okay. Yeah.
So he um him and Scotty have done a lot of books together before. This is
Oh,
look at that.
that's
Look at
crazy.
that page.
That's awesome.
I think Scotty's a much better writer than he is an artist.
Yep.
I mean, he's a phenomenal artist too, but I think he's a much better writer. He gets how to tell a story. I fell in love with that team on a small book called The Me You Love in the Dark, which if you ever hear me recommend a book to anyone, it's
Yeah.
always that book.
Oh yeah.
So very good stuff.
That's
If
what The Hunger in the Dusk has become for me. Like, hey, you haven't
yeah,
heard of this, but you should probably read it.
yeah, I gotta pick up the trade
Yeah.
of Hunger in the Dusk and catch up with it that way.
Yeah,
But
if you like high fantasy, it's worth picking up.
oh yeah,
But
yeah,
yes,
for sure.
Scotty's art hits me. It's like 70-30, where like maybe 30-70, where like a lot of his, the cutesy variants that he does, I'm not a huge fan of. And then when he
Mhm.
hits it, it's just like, it's just perfection. I'm like, this just
Oh yeah,
fits perfectly.
I picked up his Daily Grind sketchbooks from him.
Oh yeah.
Uh, Those things are awesome. Like those, I don't know. It's like that unpolished cutesiness.
Yep.
It's so good, so
Yeah.
good. But he really gets how to write characters, though.
He my I still stand by the fact my favorite cover of his, and I may have told you, or I think I might have been talking to Jesse back in 2018 when they did the Iceman #1, like for a mini that they were doing for Bobby back then. He
Hmm.
had a one of his variants with like cutesy Bobby on a sled, like hands up, that looked pure Calvin and Hobbes, and I was just like, this fits perfectly.
Hmm.
And like when he hits, he hits.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So yeah, fun stuff.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, his so historically at this time, if have you watched The Acolyte?
I have.
Are you up to date, and would you like to talk for a small amount
I
of time on
I rewatched it today just to make sure I remembered it.
it? Fair enough. So, for anyone who has not watched The Acolyte or wants to hear about it, please feel free to like, subscribe, follow us on your podcatcher of choice. If you want to get a hold of us, feel free to check us out on the socials, the Multiverse Report, on, wherever isn't Twitter. Um, Beyond that, check us out on YouTube, like us, subscribe, leave a comment. 5 stars on Apple Podcast will, if you leave a recipe, get us to eat it on air. Matt unfortunately doesn't get to partake in that unless he wants to come back for it because, well, there's nobody's left one yet. So, if you, yeah, I guess that's that. If you don't want to hear anything about the Acolyte, the latest Star Wars show that is getting weird reviews, and yet anyone who I've talked to has actually watched it is like, no, that's pretty good. Um, Feel free to listen to us talk about it, and if not, we'll talk to you next week. I guess this is your friendly neighborhood spoiler warning for The Acolyte in 3, 2, 1. Um, what do you think on this in general, Matt? Like, what are your thoughts on The Acolyte?
So my thoughts on the Acolyte. First two episodes, all in. I was surprisingly all in
Yep.
on it, being that I'm not. I know this was Kathleen Kennedy's baby, per se baby project,
Yep.
and I'm not always a big fan of Kathleen.
Okay.
Um, and some of the, just the fact that she's outwardly stated that she doesn't get why Star Wars is what it is today, and she didn't get some of the characters, and
Yep.
we again we could that's a whole other
It's
deep
a rant
deep
for
hole that we
another
can,
day. Yeah.
yeah. So when I watched the first two episodes, I'm like, wow, I am all in on this. Like
Yep.
this is great stuff. I even and then we got to episode three, and that one kind of took me out of it. I don't know
Yeah, and I
what
think
the problems.
That was one that
were
there were some quirks of any of them. I feel like that was far and away the weakest episode.
Oh yeah, for sure. Um, I mean, it had that weird singing, chanting, blah blah blah,
Right.
whatever. There was a lot of weird storytelling problems with that. Are those the Night Sisters? Or they not the Night Sisters?
Right.
What is happening here?
And again, that
Episode,
one posed a lot of questions that I wonder if in these last two episodes we're going to find some resolution to
right.
make it less confusing or less weird. And what I'm very much wondering is how much this should have been maybe trimmed and released as a like maybe 3-part maxi or something like that instead of a 6-part
Yeah,
half-hour episode thing. But either way, we made it to 3. What did 4 do for you?
4. I'll be honest. I put it on, and then I saw them kill the hummingbird looking thing, and then I didn't remember anything else until the very end when I know the internet likes to call him Smilo Ren showed up.
Yep.
Um,
Darth Zippy or Smilo Ren.
so 4, I don't remember, and then I had a convention and everything, and the reason why I rewatched the newest episode uh, before we talked today is I watched the last 2 back to back
Mhm.
late at night one night, and I'm like, I don't remember the line in between where the one
Right.
episode ended and this week's began, so I had to rewatch it. um I am still in on the show. A lot of the things that I had initially thought of, I guess, aren't coming true. I originally, and I think I said this to you in the shop, I was under the whole impression that um M- is it Mia? Mia? Is that how
May.
we pronounce her name?
May.
May. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um she was a forced projection of Osha.
Right. And that,
And
the
like,
two as one thing was its own. Yeah.
yeah, and I was still hoping that that was going to be the case until now. I'm pretty confident that that's not the case, but
Right.
she was just so strong with the force that she had like a physical force projection, kind of like the Last Jedi, but better. But
No, and that, I mean, that was, I think, I remember I had a theory at that point because you and I were both at the shop talking about this. I can't remember
mhm,
what I said, but it was something also that didn't come true. Um, but so you go from that and you get, Smiler Ren descending, and then episode 5 is battle for the freaking ages.
oh
Like
my God,
they're
that
like
was
I
that was awesome.
it's one of those where I don't care who or what you are. If you plop that battle into any situation, like if you showed somebody blind, this is what a Star Wars lightsaber battle looks like, people will come back for that because that
Hmm.
was just beautifully choreographed, well done. There were, I mean, that was, the highlight of and most of the episode was setting all that up. Um,
Yeah,
like that was just the action episode. And then episode 6, there was some, I I feel like, you know, I'll let you go first as the guest as to what you thought about it.
so I liked it for the fact that I felt like it gave us a little bit more character development with the characters, like especially with our new maybe not Sith Lord.
Right.
Um, he was the acting in this episode from him was exceptionally well. Like, if anything, excuse me, the whole series kind of shows off his acting chops
Yeah,
out
Manny
of above.
Jacinto, like I have been I I only knew him from The Good Place, which is where most people knew
Okay.
him from. And it was, I think that was the only, like, I guess you could call it a sitcom. that
Mhm.
I've remotely like I watched the first season of that, and that was as far as I've gotten in anything. But that like his, I guess he showed some range in that too. But that was all I knew him as, was this doofy guy from The Good Place, and then
Right.
he comes out, and I'm like, okay, he's the doofy guy in the. Oh my god, he's not. He's actually showing some
Yeah.
chops. Also, he's randomly ripped. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh,
Right.
holy shit, he's jacked. Okay, cool. Also, he can deliver a line like nobody's business. So
Yeah. And that's where I'm like sitting there. I'm like hanging on to the words he's saying. Like I don't even care what he's saying. I'm just hanging on to how he's
yeah,
saying it.
yeah. There was
And
something about his inflection, and like you, you could tell he was so convincing on trying to convince OSHA and mold and manipulate OSHA. And it was just like, yeah, I see it from his point of view, which is exactly what the Sith or a dark side Force user are supposed to do. It's all
right.
about, corruption and wanting and whatnot. And it fit perfectly, whether he's Sith or some other iteration. Um, it was great.
Except he didn't seem like a bad guy though
But that,
until he's stabbing people.
well, and I think that's part of what these last couple of episodes are trying to show us, because on the flip side, Lee Jung Jae with Soul showed again, similar to Jacinto, some crazy acting chops. Like that face acting,
Oh
like there
yeah.
was probably like 30 seconds of face acting from him where he ran the gamut of emotions, and you're just like watching an emotional roller coaster on his face, and you're like, this guy gets it. Like he can, you're feeling what he's feeling.
I
But what's that?
Oh, I was just gonna say I 100% love his character too. I would say out of the whole series, uh, the two characters we were just talking about are my favorite
Right, the two,
out of the whole.
the opposing masters.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and I'm very curious what Vernestra will be coming in to do at a later date. But um, the I think what this show is trying to show us is, that these good guys might not always be good, and these bad guys might not always be bad. Like, uh, that the bad guy isn't necessarily overtly mustache twirlingly evil, and that the
right.
good guy's got some weird past that we don't know about that is really hanging him up. So I think in these last two episodes we're going to see a lot more come out on that. Um,
I, I mean, I know it's hinted at it, with this episode, but I mean that scar was definitely a whip-shaped scar.
yeah,
So I'm hoping they really tell that story with Disney and with what they've done with a lot of their, like with Book of Boba Fett and Moon Knight and everything like that, is that we get to, we're on what, episode 6 or whatever out
yeah,
of 8.
yep,
We have 2 more episodes to really wrap up the stories of season 1, and Disney has had a track record of trying to wrap everything up in like 45 minutes, and that makes me very upset and angry.
Well, the director for episode 7 is the same director as directed the flashback episode. So
Okay.
likely we'll get those gaps filled in as to what happened
Okay.
uh, back in the day. So that's, I guess, a plus.
Okay.
Um,
I
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if we need another flashback episode, but
Well, it might not be the whole
like,
episode, but it might like flashback to fill in the gaps type thing.
yeah, I'm okay with that. Like I'd be okay with, you know, a couple minutes here, a couple minutes there.
Yeah.
I'm definitely more of a fan of really pushing the story forward for, 70% of it. So
Yeah. No, and I think I would have been happy. I don't know. It's the standard. If they do it well, then I don't care. Like The
Right.
flashback, if the flashback works and it does fill in what we need it to, and it gives some, like, what my brain is saying is there's some history between, like, that I keep wanting to say Vitus because one of my brainchilds from reading the other High Republic stuff is that this is Comac Vitus, who was part of the Order, left the Order, and was, jaded by the Order and kind of looking into some of the darker sides of things. So
Hmm.
I'm curious if that will be, um, if that'll be a direction they take, or if this is somebody completely different, or whether it's even someone in the Bane like line of Rule of Two Sith, or if it's some offshoot, or if it's the original Ren from the Knights of Ren. Like, there's a lot of different directions they could go, and I don't think, as long as they do it well, I don't think I'd be disappointed in any of them.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think it could be a smart move to enhance the lore around the sequels that were introduced, just to enhance those movies, because I mean, they're not making the sequels go away, obviously, and
Right.
they weren't well received. So the only thing you could really do is like enhance them.
Well, that's the
And
thing. Like, for the prequels, which I was not a fan of and still am not a huge fan of, the Clone Wars changed the prequels for me.
oh yeah,
Like, I look at episodes 2 and 3 very differently after watching the Clone Wars.
oh yeah, same. The Clone Wars is probably some of the best Star Wars I've ever seen.
Yeah. I mean, give me
Also,
Clone Wars, Rebels, and Andor, and I'm a happy man.
yeah, I gotta rewatch Andor now that the whole thing's done. Watching it week to week, it wasn't my favorite show. Me and Jeff down at the shop will fight on this, but
I
um,
I still, it is probably my third third favorite live action Star Wars thing that got put out, behind
okay,
Empire and Rogue One.
yeah, I mean I will definitely agree with Empire Rogue One. Andor,
So did you watch the entire series, or did you fall off it?
I
Because that,
did, I did. There might have been a couple weeks where like I skipped a week and watched two episodes back to back.
right.
Um,
So
I
that
thought the
first
first,
arc was a little wonky and very setty uppy,
yeah,
and then the second arc and third arc in my brain just elevated it above and beyond anything.
I think like if they could have cut that first arc down, like
Yeah.
they could have really trimmed the fat off from that, and I think that took me out of it.
Yep.
But going back to the Acolyte though, something I just thought of, the planet that they are on, um, Osha and the Sith guy, that
But
looks very familiar.
it does, but it's been discounted that it is not. And in my
Okay,
brain, with my old expanded universe brain, I texted Mike and our buddy Matt, who's been on the pod a couple of times. Uh, I believe it's Beldemnik, which is a ocean planet that had a vein of cortosis, in which the old Plagueis and Tenebris, it's the planet that Darth Plagueis killed Darth Tenebris on.
okay,
So it's a planet known to the Sith, known to the dark side, has a cortosis vein, is an ocean planet. Uh, I believe Leslie Headland came out and said that it was not Octo. Um,
okay.
so she said it was supposed to look like it, or look similar to it, not exactly like it, which it seemed to uh, at some points, but that it was almost as a mirror. So,
Because I thought like this is me stretching and outreaching. It would be really cool if it was, and if it was a Sith planet instead of, I know it was supposed to like house, the one that Luke was on was supposed to house the original Jedi temple or whatever.
Right.
What if it was really a Sith planet, and that would be an interesting like story you could tell for
Right.
Luke, either in a book or like he actually did go to the dark side, and that's why he went to this planet.
Hmm.
Like I don't know. Again, that was me thinking of like how can you really enhance stuff that came out that was kind of lackluster,
Right.
like the Clone Wars did.
Yeah.
So
No, and if they do, that'll be. I don't think anybody will complain if they can make sense of whatever the hell Rise of Skywalker was. Um, so
well,
somehow Star Wars is still here, and I'm not going to complain.
yeah,
Um,
no,
but yeah, I don't know. I think both of us at this point are still in on the Acolyte, and more than happy to watch the next two episodes. How they land the plane, I'll be curious, but I don't think they're going to lose me over the course of one. Like there's two episodes, 2 half-hour episodes left, so I feel like I'm committed at this point.
oh yeah, for
So
sure. Like I said, the only episode that really kind of took me out was episode 3, and
I feel
I
like
think it was
I feel like the highs of 5 offset the lows of 3 and brought it all back to a nice medium.
yeah, you're right. It definitely did. 3 was just a very odd contrast to what they had set up with the first two. Like again, the first two, I'm like, I am all in on this thing.
Hmm.
Like, and then 3 came out, and I feel like the whole world unanimously hated it.
Yep.
Um, and I'm just sitting there going, I don't really know what I'm watching right now. Like, what is happening? And then
And that
I
director's the
had
one
to
that's directing this week, so
I had to rewind it like 3 or 4 times to catch the explosion where all of the not maybe Night Sisters died. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's where it happened.
but was it?
What was it?
I said, but was it? Who
Yeah,
knows?
maybe it could be according to Soul and not telling the whole story, but
Yeah.
which at that point it would make sense. Like if we get that story out of episode 7, and then I'll take back everything I said. But
I mean, it is a
except for this,
Jedi saying it, so who the hell
except for
knows?
the singing part, like
That okay, yeah,
that
that
was
one that was the only part of this entire series where I've just been like, okay, this is taking me out of
yep, yep, that was weird. And I'm like, are they the Night Sisters or are they not? Like,
it. they're
someone just say it.
they're the Day Sisters now,
Yeah. Well, they
so
were out in the day.
who knows? Um, yeah, I don't know. You actually, you know what? You got you want why is my brain not working? You got anything else you want to bring up? Any plugs or any give people your socials or anything like that?
I mean, you can find me at www.theartofmattflint.com. That'll get you to pretty much any kind of social I have, including TikTok. I throw a lot of my Procreate time lapses up there.
Nice.
Um, Next convention for me is not until August. I'll be updating my list of conventions as I'm adding a few more. August 16th through the 18th, I'll be at Purificon out in Connecticut.
Mm.
If you've never been to that show, it's only about a 4.5 hour drive from here, and it's at a casino. So it's usually has houses about 50 creators, really awesome guest list, and again, it's at a casino. Like, can't go wrong.
Fair enough.
Um,
Might have to put that on the
but I'll
list for
be,
next year.
yeah, you could probably get a lot of X-Men books signed out there.
Damn it.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, like I'll be at Retro Game Con this fall, Twin Tiers Comic Con this fall. Again, adding a couple more that I can't confirm yet, but I think it's going to be a very busy fall time. I also brought one more thing to share, and I think you'll appreciate this. I kept forgetting I bought it, but have you ever seen one of these?
Oh my lord. Oh
So
my lord.
this is an uncut cover
Uh-huh.
of X-Men Alpha #1. It's never been stapled or
Oh, that is
anything.
a thing of beauty.
I found that, I mean, Joe Mad is my favorite artist of all time.
Yep.
So I had to have this. I have God knows how many copies of this book, but I've never seen one that was never uncut
Yeah,
before.
that
So
is
like
insane, man.
on the back you can even see the
Yep.
embossing of all the lines and stuff. So I figured out of you and of anyone, you'd appreciate that.
Absolutely. That is,
So
oh god, that's killer.
I probably spent way too much money on it, but that's okay. I had to have it.
Totally worth it.
Yeah.
Yep.
How about
That's
you? You got anything? Any last words?
no, I think as the two suns set over the burnt bodies of Owen and Beru Lars, we say thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the multiverse.